Starting around Harlem, it's 30 minutes, O'Hare to downtown, a little quicker than the express. Outbound downtown to the airport, looking at about 26 minutes. On the Edens, it's 20 minutes Lake Hook to the junction. On the Eisenhower, 40 minutes, 390 to downtown, outbound 33. Stevenson now 48 minutes, 355 to the drive, 36 minutes from the tri-state. Ryan, 25 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 20 minutes, side to the merge, Bishop 427. Northbound Lakeshore Drive is heavy, Roosevelt to Jackson. Northbound tri-state delays from the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis and from the Reagan Tillway to the Ike. I'm Jim Telemonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. In our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center, meteorologist Steve Williams.
We'll see rain today, the high at 37. That rain early tonight will change over to snow, accumulating 2 to 4 inches, low tonight 33. Clouds and snow tomorrow, 1 to 2 inches, the high at 36. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
35 at O'Hare, next news 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the IRS Radio Hour with Stephen Leahy. Every Sunday afternoon at 5 on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560.
Fox and Friends.
He was, and here's some of what he alleged about what he found in investigating the 2016 election. He, again, provided context, again, according to him, saying that he was investigating Biden for 2 years prior to him running for office. He never believed Biden would run for president. And this was what was going on, according to Rudy Giuliani, saying that starting at about noon today, he's going to have a podcast bringing witnesses forward, at least their testimony, that haven't been granted visas by the United States, and otherwise laying out the evidence that he has.
The embassy was involved in gathering dirt on Trump Jr., and on Manafort. And not only that, they were involved in turning over falsified evidence, absolutely completely falsified. 4 witnesses will testify to that over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Mayor, let me ask you.
I'm going to present over the next 2 to 3 weeks shocking crimes at the highest levels of both governments, while the Senate is listening to a totally phony group of stories about non-impeachable offenses. It's like trying somebody for not a crime. It's a total waste of money. It's a complete show on the part of the Democrats.
Right.
All right, so embassy officials falsifying evidence. That's
huge.
Pretty serious allegation. Here's another one. Joe Biden taking bribes.
And you talk about interfering in the 2020 election. You know, I started investigating Biden 2 years ago when he was thinking about running for president. I never thought he would run. Looked to me like he couldn't cross the street, much less run. I wasn't investigating Biden. In the middle of the corruption presentation, one gentleman said to me, well, you know about the Biden bribe. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, Biden got paid off. And he went to Poroshenko. He forced the prosecutor out. Not only did he get his son out, but he got Burisma out. So one of the things we're going to reveal, we always ask, why did this happen? Mm-hmm. Why would a crooked Ukrainian oligarch whose company is about to be taken away from him, who's sitting in Switzerland with $5 billion he stole, all this is just fact. His name is Mykola Zlochevsky. This is all true, what I just said. He hires the son of the vice president who just got thrown out of the Navy for failing a drug test, had been in and out of rehab most of his life, was a failure in business, and was involved in 2 or 3 other scandals involving his father before, including busted companies where they were using his name, Joe's name. Why?
Yeah, we know the Hunter story, and we know the Biden Inc. story is metastasizing thanks to the Peter Schweitzer book that is forthcoming, and his delineation of the financial interests of 5 Biden family members that seem to dovetail with official duties of the vice president while he was vice president. So that creates some legitimate questions. And then in addition to that, last night, we played earlier in the show, or the other night, maybe Wednesday night, Laura Ingram's report on her show on Fox, where her show has obtained emails from the State Department that suggest meetings in January of 2016 at the White House about Hunter Biden and his involvement with Burisma and the problems associated with that, generally speaking, and prompting additional questions about where was the so-called whistleblower when it was Hunter Biden and Burisma with respect to Ukraine. This was a concern that apparently at least went to the upper reaches of the State Department. Why no blowing of the whistle about that? Boy, that's a lot of cloak and dagger intrigue. And apparently, according to Rudy, this is all going to play out in the next couple of weeks. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Bret Baier, Fox News anchor, special report, weekdays, 5 p.m. Chicago time, and his book, 3 Days at the Brink, FDR's Daring Gamble to Win World War II. Bret, thanks for joining us.
Morning.
So where do you want to start with all that?
Hi.
How about
It's Friday.
How about Rudy G's assertions on Fox and Friends this morning?
Well, listen, I think that I don't think that Rudy Giuliani has held back much in interviews over many weeks. I mean, there was a downtime where he wasn't giving interviews, but I don't think he's stopped talking about this stuff. So I'm willing to consider, anything he brings to the table, but I think that what's key is the evidence that backs it up, not just, him saying it. And I think it's fair to say across the board that Ukraine is a very swampy, corrupt place. It was. It may not be as much anymore, but clearly it was the trafficking on all sides to make deals. And so you have to be careful about what you say is definitive fact based on the people that you're dealing with on the ground in Ukraine. So I'm interested, intrigued, but I'm cautious about the information.
Yeah, I think that's the right approach. I mean, and I think Laura Ingram's piece, so the email she obtained, and then the question she asked us are sort of the same thing. I think she's asking some of the right questions, but you got to prove up. And my larger question then for you is, what's your sense? Is there any attrition on the Hill among Senate Republicans for witnesses? Do they, this stuff is all sort of very attractive, perhaps dangerously so. The posture to not have witnesses was, of course, there's no case. As Pat Cipollone said, there's not only no case, there's not even any charges. However, what's coming out makes it very attractive, perhaps, for some Republicans to say, well, let's have a full airing and a full reckoning, and let's go down all of these concurrent paths and bring it all to light and let the American people see the full complement of what was going on across the spectrum.
Yeah, and I think in an altruistic sense, that is what you're trying to get to. That is, show light on everything. And I think that for Democrats and Republicans who are saying that's, maybe how they feel. I think in a political sense, there are Democrats and Republicans who realize the tremendous pitfalls potentially of going down some of these roads, and they're doing the math, frankly, and that's what it comes down to in the Senate. And there are Democrats who look at it and say, what is the upside of going down, extending this, keeping these senators here instead of Iowa and the caucuses and New Hampshire and the primary, and are we really going to be able to kick out a president based on this? And 20 Republican senators are not going to vote to kick this president out. I don't think, unless there's some bombshell that comes out in witnesses. So my bottom line is that as more that I hear up on Capitol Hill is that it's going the other way, that it's actually they're losing some of those moderates who were on the fence, who are being shored up by the way they believe that this was presented.
Yeah, I heard this morning they've lost Mitt Romney. There's no way that he's going to vote for witnesses.
Well, also,
I mean, look what Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins have said about Jerry Nadler. I mean, this is like an indication that McConnell has herded the cats.
Well, also, too, Molly Hemingway, who I know is a regular on your show as well, she had a really good point in a piece in the Federalist. There's all the focus is on Collins and Murkowski and Romney and Alexander. What about people like Gary Peters and Kristen Sinema and Doug Jones? There's some Democrats who have to be a little concerned how far they go down the road with those that are hell-bent on impeachment and removal. And if a compelling case isn't presented, if popular opinion doesn't move significantly, you could have Democrats that walk away.
And don't think that, it's all about politics. They say it's not politics and it's all principle, but it's all about politics. And don't think that the Biden thing doesn't factor in to all of this. I mean,
Right.
You start going down the Biden road and they're looking at the scale right now of where the polls are and who Democrats are looking at. I mean, they are not wanting Bernie Sanders as a Democratic Party. And believe that if it's not Biden, it's Bloomberg, but they think Biden is probably it if he wins Iowa and New Hampshire.
So
Suddenly, if you leave him exposed on a number of fronts, he's weaker.
now, yesterday was a bad case of deja vu in the impeachment trial. Today, they're going to focus on obstruction of Congress. Do you get the sense that America has tuned out?
Well, I'll just look at the ratings, and they are down significantly from where we were with James Comey, where we were with Brett Kavanaugh was at more than 20 million watching those hearings. This was at 11, now it's at 8. So it's been going down every day.
And the indication from Sekulow that it's fine for the Democrats to use their allotted 24 hours. We may just have everybody do a turn of an hour and a half, and let's move this thing along to ostensibly, if your instinct is right, which I think it is, ostensibly a vote.
I think you're right, and I think they're going to make their case. They'll push back on some of the specific lines and kind of roads that the House managers went down. They'll talk about the constitutional question about why this, in their mind, is not impeachable. And then they'll open it up for questions. Now, I think the questions could be interesting, and some Republicans have signaled that they're going to ask Adam Schiff questions as if he were a witness, even though he's not going to be a witness, but they're going to ask questions through Chief Justice Roberts. That could get interesting. But then after that, it's a vote on witnesses, and after that, I think it's a vote to acquit or convict. And it's possible that by Thursday, this is wrapped up next week.
Can you see if you can get us any of those commemorative fidgets that the senators are biding their time with?
Spinners, yeah.
I can't imagine how they must be bored out of their minds.
Well, I mean, I think
no cell phones, just hot water, and milk.
Well, and Rand Paul's been catching up on all those crossword puzzles that were backing up in his office. Bret Baier.
A couple of them got busted with eye watches, but that was only after the first day.
Yeah, I think a couple of them got busted
for
asleep
reading.
too.
Yeah, sleeping.
Yeah.
So
if somebody can sketch